Okay, folks, thanks for sticking in with me as I know it's been a long show. We talked about very early on in this show my top 10 sports stories of 2024. Then we dove into my man Jalen Sandvik. We played a great game of fair or foul. Then I gave you my 2024, WWE Slammy Awards for the year. Then we talked to my best friend Andrew Becca on this show for the first time in nearly 3 years. And now, to wrap up the Brandon's World Christmas special for 2024, I am going to be giving you my sports predictions for 2025 in no particular order. This is what I think will happen throughout the world of sports, whether it is professional wrestling, whether it is the NBA, MLB, college, NFL, NBA, etc. These are the things that I think we will be talking about the most in 2025 from the start of the year to the end of the year. And again, it will be in no particular order here. Hey guys, it's me popping in here. I just want to let you know that once again, when I did the recording for this, my 2025 predictions in sports, I did it prior to Bill Belichick becoming the head coach of North Carolina. So, one of my predictions in sports in 2025 will be that Bill Belichick will only be the head coach of North Carolina for one season. And with that, let's get into my other 2025 sports predictions. On my list, I have that Travis Kelce, yes, that guy, Travis Kelce, and the New York Jets starting quarterback, Mr. Immunize himself, they will both retire. Yes, I think it's a very good possibility for Kelce that even if the Kansas City Chiefs do not repeat this year, Kelce has not been the same player. And I know what you're going to say, Brandon. He wasn't the same player last year, and then he turned it on in the playoffs. And yes, I agree with you. But this year, he's being used less and less and less. It just seems like to me that him and Patrick Mahomes are not on the same page. It seems like to me, with obviously Taylor Swift and everything going on in his life, he has 1 foot out the door. And I think Travis is beat up. I think the Chiefs may realize he's not the same player either. And I think Travis has done everything in the business. And I think Jason Kelce will tell him, Kelce will be retired for 1 year at this point. And Jason Kelce went out in one of the worst ways possible with that Philadelphia Eagles collapse at the end of the 2023 season. I think Jason will tell Travis, hey, it's okay. Go be with your woman. And I think that this may be the last stand for Travis Kelce. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't think the Jets are going to retain him next year as a starting quarterback. That team's an absolute disaster. Way to go, Davante Adams, forcing your way out of one disaster in Las Vegas and going to another absolute disaster in the New York Jets, possibly even a bigger disaster. Um, I can't think of a team that if Aaron Rodgers were to move on from the Jets would say absolutely yes, we would have you, Aaron. I think Aaron's old. I don't think he has his fastball anymore. I don't think he can move. I think Aaron at this point would be a game manager for a veteran team with a great offensive line. I'm talking a team like a Detroit or anybody like that who if Jared Goff were to suffer a career threatening injury next year, could they bring in Aaron Rodgers? Maybe. I don't think he fit the culture there in Detroit though either. I think Aaron's a weird guy. I think he's been more me than team the past few years, especially skipping mandatory minicamp the past few years with the Jets. I think he's already got 1 foot out the door. Green Bay looks smarter by the day, moving on from him, and going with Jordan Love. I think Aaron Rodgers will retire as well at the end of this football season. We know Monday Night Raw is moving to Netflix January 6, 2025. We know potentially The Rock could be back. We know John Cena will be back on his retirement tour. I think that both the final boss, the people champion, and the man that we cannot see will at some point win the WWE or World Heavyweight Championships, respectively. I don't think John Cena will do it at WrestleMania. I think he may do it at SummerSlam or another PLE. My prediction right now is he will face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship and lose at WrestleMania 41. My prediction right now for the final boss is by the Royal Rumble, whether it's the first Raw on Netflix or at the Royal Rumble himself, he will be the undisputed WWE Champion, and he will face Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 41 in a triple threat match where he will walk in as champion. Here's one for the NBA for you. One of Joel Embiid, who, my God, the Sixers are an absolute mess. Joel Embiid's a disaster. Trust the process was a complete disaster. They're a freaking mess. One of them, or Giannis Antetokounmpo, who even though the Milwaukee Bucks struggled at the beginning of the season, they are starting to gain their stride a little bit. But I still don't trust them come postseason time. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are better than them. I think the Boston Celtics are better than them. I think the New York Knicks are better than them. I even think once Pablo Banchero comes back, Orlando could be better than them. I think one of Joel Embiid or Giannis. And at this point, based on where we are in the season, it's likely Embiid, but I'll throw Giannis in there for this discussion. Will be traded. There's been rumors all over the map about, what could Golden State do to potentially get Giannis Antetokounmpo down the line, give them one more shot to get Steph Curry one more championship. I don't think Milwaukee would necessarily do that. But I've said this for the past few years. I said this at the end of their playoff run last year when they were eliminated first round by the New York Knicks. The Sixers, instead of trading Joel Embiid and starting over and trying to find a way to build around Tyrese Maxey, they doubled down and they added Paul George. And Paul George is a very good player. But Paul George is an injury prone player. And I said it at the time, I didn't trust the Sixers. A lot of people were saying they were the third, fourth, maybe even fifth best team in the East. I didn't buy it. This Sixers team, led by Nick Nurse, is a disaster. It's time for them to restart. Joel Embiid needs to go to a team where he is the third star. Um, in the NBA nowadays, we have duos. We don't really have a lot of stars. You look at Denver. They had, Nikola Jokic and obviously Jamal Murray. Boston, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Miami just has Jimmy Butler and a bunch of guys. The Lakers, obviously, LeBron and AD, very top heavy there. Phoenix, obviously, very top heavy there with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. So I don't know where a good place for Joel Embiid to go for a contender would be. Obviously, what Zach Edey and John Moran has done in Memphis would be spectacular. They don't really need Embiid. Maybe with Zion Williamson's injury history, maybe New Orleans takes a shot at him just because they have to sell tickets. Maybe Portland, that's one of the new foundations. They get rid of Damian Lillard. Maybe they bring in Joel Embiid to win more games. Maybe San Antonio thinks putting Joel Embiid and Victor Wembanyama together would be one hell of a pair, which it would be. I don't know what the case is going to be, but I think Joel Embiid or Giannis, if Milwaukee does flame out again in the first round, I think he will absolutely request a trade. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo realizes that ever since they won that championship in 2021, the Bucks have been a massive disappointment. I think he was going to ask out, and the Bucks franchise panicked and decided to get Damian Lillard. And if we go into this second season now, and it would be the third straight season where Giannis would be hurt in the postseason, or they don't, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think Giannis would have every right to ask out if it's not his fault. I have Shador and Deion Sanders. I don't know if it's going to be with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if it's going to be with the New York Giants. I don't know if it's going to be with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I think they will both land at the same place, be on the same team in the National Football League next year. It will be one of the biggest sports stories of the year because Deion Sanders, the former great all pro defensive back with the likes of the Falcons, the Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, will be coaching his son at quarterback next year in the National Football League the way he's done the past few seasons at Colorado in college. I think Shohei Ohtani will bounce back from his shoulder injury. We talked about Ohtani earlier, the 50-50 season, the story he did to bring the Los Angeles Dodgers their first real world title since 1981. I think next year he will have an even bigger story to tell because I think the man who, my good friend who comes on this show a lot, he just came on the show last week, Andy Z, convinced me that he is the best baseball player in the game right now. I think Shohei will win the National League Cy Young Award coming back from that injury. Shohei Ohtani, he will be managed by the Dodgers. He may not have as many starts in the world, but I think he will have a Terrence Skubal-esque dominating performance in the National League next year. Ohtani's arm will finally stay healthy. He will win the National League Cy Young. And then my last sports prediction for 2025, I wanted to hit one or two from every parts of life. So, I talked about here the NFL with Travis Kelce, Aaron Rodgers, and Belichick. I talked about WWE. I talked about the NBA with Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, a little bit of college football and the NFL with Shador and Dion. I talked about, Ohtani winning the NL Cy Young in baseball. I'll just go quickly here to men's March Madness because we haven't really talked about a lot of it because, I think the men's March Madness tour has sort of lost its luster a little bit with the lack of stars. But UConn is a back-to-back national champion, the way the Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. And I'm not going to predict that an absolute that the Chiefs will or will not win a Super Bowl because we know the NFL, anything can happen any given day. But I will predict here that Dan Early and the UConn's men's basketball team, who, if you remember, Dan Early was almost the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers before he ultimately decided to pass on the opportunity to try to win a third straight at UConn. I don't think he gets it done.